at the technical level and at the legal level, the drafts are already in place. Because if we don't have the law abreast with technology, then with all this growth and development, you can have several negatives, because it can also be used for criminal activity. In fact, only last week I was reading on the Gleaner, one of the Jamaican papers, that the first 2 persons were arrested in Jamaica under their new cybercrime legislation. And these 2 persons were seen around an ATM machine. Looks suspicious. They were picked up. And what they basically had was tools. One, to pick up your PIN. So your PIN number when you use the machine, and to reproduce the card. So essentially what you can do is that that person now can enter that machine, use your own PIN number, and access your account. So there are various positives, but there are tremendous negatives too with the growth of technology. And if we don't have the legal processes in place and the laws in place, it can be adverse to our own development.
So Alban, it's not just the bare telecommunication industry as we perceive it, the telephone, the mobile. It's much more intriguing work that goes on in the NTRC on behalf of Grenada, Caribou, and Pili Martinique.
Indeed, and in doing so, we provide information to the general public through our website. Before decisions are made, we have a series of consultation. But what we notice, the participation is still at a low level.
Grenadians are not much engaged in reading the literature and following.
The only entities involved in giving us response so far are the providers themselves. But we will hope that the general public will pay more attention to those kinds of consultations, because it will have effect going forward. So they have an opportunity to participate in what legislation comes into force, and so it's available. The process is not just the NTRC doing, but we make it available such that you can contribute towards shaping the legislation as it goes forward.
So it's just not left to the attorneys, the trained attorneys. The local man, the ordinary man with his own opinion can help influence that process.
Correct.
Right. I know that you specialize with the IT aspect of it. You get a sense that our people are beginning to come up to speed. Mr. Ferguson spoke about some areas there. Again, has opened my eyes to a number of things.
Well, really, the people are way ahead. There are persons in Grenada who have been calling for the legislation, who knows what the capability and the capacity of the internet is. I'm convinced that the people know what they want, and they are well informed of what should be. As Mr. Ferguson said, the problem is maybe how we publicize the consultations and all of that. I do not think that there is any real lack of interest. The young people are moving ahead, but we need to make sure that things are in place to regulate, make sure that it can move further. For example, the recognition in law of digital signatures, so that people can communicate online and have legal
binding.
Right. That's accepted in some countries?
Well, in some countries, but we don't. In fact, that is what the Electronic Transaction Act and also the Electronic Evidence Act will ensure that some of the business can be done on the internet, and you can form contracts, legally binding contracts. That you can have electronic.
That can stand up in our court.
Precisely, not just in our court, but as you can sign a contract with somebody who is in the United States using the facilities over the internet. You have electronic signatures, and of course you would need to have ways to verify those signatures. But once these bits and pieces of legislation come in place, you're talking about increasing and enhancing the speed and efficiency with which we can do things. Now everything is at the touch of a button. If we don't have the legislative framework to support it, it can't be done. Right now, if you have to enter into a contract with somebody in the United States, London, for example, you have to do several things, including you might sign the document here, then you might send it up by FedEx. That will take a couple of days. Then the person who receives it would go to a notary public because they are abroad, the person is abroad, and they would sign, and then we have to send back the original document. You want the document as an original document. With the legislation in place, you can do all of this like same day, within the hour, signing of contracts. Now the technology is there. It has been there for a while. We just do not have the legislative framework to ensure that if we use those systems, that they can't be challenged in a court of law. And where you are seeking speed, you end up with an invalid contract. So that's why all these bits and pieces of legislation are so important for the national community, because it will really enhance business operations. And that is where we operate in literally now in a global village. We are all part of a global village. We have Grenadians all over the world interested in doing business with Grenada, other persons interested in doing business with Grenada. But the constant complaint you would hear is that things are just moving too slow. When you have to go through the bureaucracy, that in itself is a frustrating experience. When the time comes when doing business on the internet in a legally binding way becomes acceptable, you would see what that means for economic growth in the country. So it has its importance, not just in it being a nice thing to do, to sit at your computer and have your fingertips on what is happening all over the world, but in relation to business, and as the saying goes, electronic transactions, that would be an important new feature, and the NTRC is involved in that in a significant way. In fact, we have participated in all the sessions discussing the original document from which the 6 pieces of legislation eventually evolved. So we are well familiar with it, and we are waiting eagerly the discussions on the local level where you can have consultations through the length and breadth of Grenada.
Right, well, I think the final question I want to ask you, because media is part of your challenge, and I know maybe that is the most obvious thing for those of us. Our media people recognizes this is the frequency that you have assigned them. Our behavior is good, and I say our because I suppose I want to be part of the media.
So I would want to say that we are now getting good cooperation from the media.
Okay.
Prior to the existence of NTRC, the media was regulated on the I think the Wire Act. With the coming of the new regulation in place, it was necessary for the different media houses to apply for frequencies such that they can continue to operate. And they have since cooperated in that respect. So they are complying and they are following the rules when it comes to the use of frequencies. We do not have any radio stations that are operating outside of the authorized frequency. So in that sense, I will say that we are receiving the full cooperation of them. Our task, though, that I want to emphasize, is that we are here just to assist. We are here to ensure that the environment is well suited for business to be conducted. Once we create that playing field and we create that environment, then the other parties will feel comfortable operating in the industry. But we are here to serve your needs. We are not here just to tell you what we think should be done. So basically, at the end of the day, I am saying that the broadcasters are free to communicate their problems. If they have interferences, they're free to come in. In fact, they welcome the NTRC, because prior to that they were finding it difficult to deal with problems of interferences. Today we are here, and I have to say that we are getting full cooperation. When reports come in, they do cooperate, and we solve the issues going forward.
Anything else for the week?
Yes, Ray. I would like to say a bit about the Universal Service Fund, which will be launched on the 29th as well.
Yes.
Okay, and that's part of your 10th anniversary?
Yes, the Universal Service Fund. It is a fund which helps to, put in a short way, you could say, to bridge the digital divide, to make sure that, as the word says, universal service, to make sure that everyone in Grenada, and when I say Grenada, the state, it includes Carriacou and Pt.2, has equal opportunity to enjoy and benefit from the ICT services being offered by the providers in the country. These providers annually contribute to that fund. Anyone else can contribute as likewise, and that fund will be used to fund projects which can result in everybody having better service, and that will be launched on the 29th as well.
Good.
I think that's very important, Vince.
29th of this month.
Yes, that universal service should be viewed as another step. It's another launch pad, as we see, propelling further to bring further benefits, and we really look forward to the launching of that funds.
I'm going to invite you guys, gentlemen, back to talk to us about it, since it's so important, and we can keep in touch a little more frequent. All three disclose things, I'm sure, that intrigue the minds, and will certainly, I mean, for example, the fact that we can do business via the internet and the legislation that is required, we need to read it, we need to understand it. And if there's the opportunity for us to do that, there's a website, you said? What's the website?
Yes, it's www.ntrc.gd.